going? In today's lesson, I want to break down and decode for you Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now, a lot of guitar players try to play this tune and have a lot of struggles, so in this lesson, I want to break it down for you in the simplest form and get you on the right track to practicing it and eventually making it sound legit. I'm Will Ripley, and you're tuning into Campfire Guitar Star. All right, so I'm stoked to dive into this one because a few weeks back I released a video on Cold Shot by Stevie Ray Vaughan and kind of an easy approach to achieving that track, and it kind of blew up. At this time it's got 50,000 views on it and a lot of positive comments and stuff, and a lot of you guys seem to dig the way that I broke down the Stevie Ray Vaughan swagger, you know, that rhythm sound, and of course Cold Shot. Right? It's kind of like a bass line and a lead part together, and it just sounds so full. And Stevie Ray Vaughan certainly mastered that technique and has blown all our heads off ever since he came up with it. So Pride and Joy is very similar to Cold Shot in the sense that we have a bass line and this kind of like other rhythmic part to it happening at the same time. So it only makes sense to kind of attack the bass line first. And you're going to see for yourself here that the bass line is actually just really a straightforward blues tune. And I mean, Pride and Joy is a blues song after all, and so it's certainly derived from the blues. And so this bass line, by the way, grab the tabs. The PDF is in the comments in the description below. You can download those, get that pulled up, and that will probably be helpful when we're going along with this lesson. But check it out. So what we want to do is just achieve the bass line first, because if we get that going on, you're going to have a way better chance of playing Pride and Joy. And plus, just it will solidify what you know of as a 12-bar blues and just all that good stuff. So the bass line is a shuffle style bass line that sounds like this. And what's cool is that once we learn it in one place, we can actually do the exact same thing off the A string. Right, you can hear it's the same riff, just starting from a different note. And we're back home, okay? And then we've just got one more to go. It sounds like this. Okay? So very basic sounding blues stuff, very straightforward blues bass line style riffing going on there. So let's break that down first, get that under your fingers, and then that will be the essential first step in this Pride and Joy lesson. So all these notes are all falling on the 2nd and 4th frets, aside from your open E string. So that's your very first note. And we're going to be doing a shuffle rhythm, so that's like... So it's kind of like long, short, long, short, long, short. Okay, so we've got this shuffle. You know, it kind of sounds like a horse gallop or something like that. So we've got 2 notes, like 2 strums per note. So 0, 0, 4th fret of the E string, and then we're going to climb up to the 2nd fret, 4th, 2nd on the D string, and then just really back down. Okay, so let's just practice that. I'll just play it a few times, see if you can pop in with me here. 1, 2, ready, go. I'll just keep on playing it. Now you're probably wondering, or noticing that I changed it, and all I'm doing there is I'm just pressing in my finger and letting go of it, right, to cut off those notes, as opposed to. So definitely gives a very different flavor with both those techniques. So we're going to play that riff twice. Then we're going to move on and do the exact same riff, just starting from the A string. So that's going to be A string, D string, G string. And the thing is about the 12-bar blues is the way that it lines up is that we're only going to play that riff once. So the first riff, starting from the E string, we play twice. then the next riff we're only gonna play once. Then we're gonna be back to our first riff and we're only gonna play that once again. Now, and the only real change comes up is when we go to the B, our 5 chord in the key of E, and that's gonna start here on the 2nd fret of the A string. We're gonna go up to the 6th fret of the A string, but then everything just falls into place just like we've seen in the other riffs. So we got, so that's how it lines up in its full form, but just with the rhythmic placement of this riff and sticking with the 12-bar blues, we're actually just gonna wanna go like this. And that's it, okay? And then we're gonna go down to our A, stop there, and then we're gonna do a turnaround, okay? So just from that B, let's just see if we can hit this together. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, so now that brings us to our turnaround. We're at the last little bit of our 12-bar blues. So here we're gonna go. All right, sounds pretty good. So we got open, 4th, and all that's really happening here, by the way, is we're just going really 5th, 6th to 7th. And you could do a dominant 7 chord off your 7th fret. However, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of focus in this little zone a little bit more because that's really what's going on in Pride and Joy. So we've got 4th, open A, 1st fret, and then 2nd fret, and then you're gonna build up this B7 chord, and we'll have this charted out for you in that tab that you can download. Okay, now before we move on, let's just go ahead and tackle this riff together just to make sure that we A, have the 12-bar blues, and B, have this bass line style riff going on, all right? So let's go ahead and we'll just take it a little slower. Bum, ba-dum, 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 da, 1, 2, ready, go. And switch. And back. And up to B. Switch. And turn around. Okay? So maybe you want to pause it, roll it back. Just make sure that you have that down because as you can imagine, when we're upgrading it and taking the next step in the staircase towards SRV's techniques, you're going to want to have that down before you move on. And just a quick note about that turnaround is you don't have to stick this B7 chord with all 4 fingers all at the same time. Almost always when you see this chord, especially in blues and rock, which you'll see it a lot in, a lot of guys will do exactly what you'll see me doing there, which is climbing up into the chord and kind of building the chord as I play it. So as you can see, I was going. So you don't have to have all that chord stuck and all 4 fingers down. Start here, put that one down, and then the last one, right? So that really helps out. And honestly, this is what I'm sure a lot of guys are doing to build that chord. And honestly, a lot of chords are built this way, just kind of like building them as you play it. Happens actually quite a bit in guitar. Pride and Joy is kind of interesting because we take that basic blues bass line riff and we just mold it a little bit. We're just gonna tweak it. So instead of this note, what we can do is we can grab the 3rd fret, but we kind of like tweak it up so it almost like just kisses or just brushes against that 4th fret. So just go ahead and see for yourself how you can make this note, the 4th fret of the low E string, into, right? Just by bending the 3rd fret, you can actually bend it up to hit the same pitch as the 4th fret, right? And of course, we can do this with all kinds of strings and bend the strings like crazy to hit all kinds of pitches, even 3, 4 frets higher. So that's the big tweak that's going on here with Pride and Joy is we've got the same idea, 2 notes, 2 strums per note, but we've got okay? The 3rd fret, and as you can see, it kind of has this sad sound instead of the happy sound. So this sounds all chipper and like uppity, right? But as soon as we hit that 3rd fret, just kind of like sounds a little more aggro somehow. I don't know. It just sounds kind of a little more brooding with that 3rd fret. So, and there is a little bit of a tweak there, like I was saying with the bend note, but regardless, even if you don't do the bent note at all, just hitting that 3rd fret is going to get you a lot closer to pride and joy. So we've got, okay, so that would be the first tweak to make. So we've got 0, 3rd fret, climb up as we were doing, but instead of climbing back down in sequence, skip right back to that 3rd fret. Okay, we're leaning hard on this 3rd fret now. And then you can climb back up to the A string, okay? So that would be the next step in the progression. So we took the kind of generic sounding bass line and we're just tweaking it, okay? So, and which really is the foundation of pride and joy. So we've got something like this. Okay, and then we can actually do the exact same thing on the next set of strings. And then back. So now we have the basic bass line style riff. Now you're seeing the changes that SRV made to that riff to make it his own. And quite simply, all we're gonna add in now is the top 2 strings in between every note. Okay, and I'll say that again. So we've got the top 2 strings in between each one of those notes that we were just playing. So, okay, so all I'm doing there is with an upstroke, I'm just strumming roughly my top 2 strings. It's even okay if you get other strings in there too. It's really more of a rhythmic thing, and it happens so quick that it's just kind of more of a, right? We're not really processing what notes or what chord is happening there. It's really more of a rhythm. Okay, so let's just try this. And I think this is a really big mistake that a lot of people make when they're trying to learn pride and joy is they try to play it too fast. But it actually sounds super cool when you play it slow like this. And sure enough, that exact same principle will work on the next riff down. And sure enough, you can see that if you just speed it up, it will sound more like it. So if I do that exact same thing, just more at the tempo of pride and joy, we've got this. Yeah, you can see for yourself that you can actually have this like cool, slow Texas blues, maybe something like T-Bone Walker might have done or something like that, where we've got this just slow grind going on. Okay, sounds super cool in my opinion. And do let me know what you think in the comments below. So let's go ahead and put those two riffs together with a slow, brooding grind, okay? So Pride and Joy slowed right down. So we'll go like boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha. 1, 2, ready, and. And switch. And back. Okay, so that brings us up into that turnaround. Typically we were going, and this would still totally work like how we were playing it in the beginning. But Stevie Ray Vaughan is going into like a really fast blues run, which we're not going to tackle in today's lesson. Certainly we'll have that tabbed out for you and available to you. But what you really want to get going on first is just the transition here. So really we're on that B7 chord, which we talked about. And then we're going to do an A7 chord. And then we've got a turnaround. Okay, so that's a very standard blues turnaround in the key of E. Sounds really good. And so when we're playing through that, we'll get up to this little bit here. And this is pretty much just like what Stevie Ray Vaughan, like how he starts out his lick. Okay, and this is using these two guys, the G string and the B string on the 4th fret and the 3rd fret. Okay, and even just hitting those two separate with a downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. And then, you can also do a little slide in there. Or hit them both at the same time with the slide. All right, this is a really magic little zone which so many tracks have come out of. I'm sure you heard that one, right? So, anyways, getting back to Pride and Joy, so we've got this lick. However you choose, we just need to fill that up with 4 beats. And then we're gonna go down to an A, and you got a couple choices here. A major, A7, even just strumming it out, or if you know anything like this. Or anything like that, any kind of like little blues riff in A, or if you just want to hit the riff that we talked about earlier. Okay, anything like that, all of those work, okay? We're just trying to play the right chord for the right amount of time here, okay? So we've got something like this. Okay, so again, B, whatever A riff you want, and then we're on the E and then the turnaround. So I'm just punching an E power chord there, and then I'm gonna dial up this chord right here. And the best way to think about this one is you probably maybe played a D7, this chord. Well, if you just bump that same shape up 2 frets and strum it and pick it in that pattern. So G, E, B, do the exact same thing 1 fret down. G, E, B, G, E, B. You can punch an E major chord or back to that E power chord, okay? There's options here, okay? And you'll find your own options as you work through these type of things. But yeah, so we got... that same idea that we talked about earlier of building the B7 as we play it and when we're ready for it, okay? So, now, again, to recap, we've got this bass line riff. Okay, then we started adding in that rhythm in between each note. Okay, and then now what we want to do with that is really just get the 12-bar blues form and put it all in the right places. And then also play it slow and get that nice slow blues grind going on, okay? So, and of course, all of this stuff will be tabbed out for you, but let's just go ahead and take a stab at this right now. We'll play it nice and slow, and we'll fill up all those pockets in the 12-bar blues as they should be, using the techniques that whatever you're kind of like getting on the most and feeling the most comfortable with. Could be very basic like that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hit that, and then what we're going to be hopping into next is just kind of getting more of the SRV vibe going, and even like accentuating some of those and just getting every last little drop out of it. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, so as you could probably hear, what I threw in there was this lick. Okay, so that is super key to playing Pride and Joy, making it sound like SRV. And so what's going on there is at the end of each phrase, right there, so right after this note, the second fret of the A string, and then you hit that rhythmic shot, we've got this little phrase. Okay, which is such a great little blues lick to play anyway. So we've got G and B strings covered on the second fret. We've got a little bar going on. I choose to play with my second finger just because then we're gonna go down our first finger. Okay, so that's a G string, hammer on, hitting those top two strings again, okay? Tons of fun to be had right there in that lick. So that happens at the end of each phrase. Okay, we're just gonna switch, just hold that before you go to the A, and that's really important. So just hit that right there. That will slip you right into the A. But finish off the A phrase with that lick, which will knock you right back into this riff. And then we're right at that turnaround at that point. And just lastly, just to get even more of that Stevie Ray Vaughan swagger going on, you really don't want to be shy with that upstroke and just raking it through the strings. And so, like I was saying earlier, yeah, we're hitting those top two strings, but it happens so quickly, And we're raking really across a bunch of strings, and it's a very rhythmical action. So don't be too precise, if that makes any sense. Like, kind of like make it sloppy intentionally. So, and you can see that it helps to actually mute on the way down. So to mute the strings by strumming through all 6 strings, but only really allowing one string to happen. So on the way down, you're strumming all 6 strings, and on the way up, you're strumming basically all 6 strings, but you're only allowing certain notes to actually ring through, okay? And that's really where, you know, the magic happens. But certainly, as you could probably tell, getting the bass line, getting some of the fundamentals, taking it slow, getting the 12-bar blues, all that stuff is really gonna help getting the wheels turning. And then as you practice this, you'll probably be able to see some of these things for yourself, and they'll just come along naturally. But yeah, so it's all about the muting on the way down. So you can really hit the strings aggressively and get a big tone out of it. And then on the upstroke, just really hitting a lot of those strings, again, aggressively, getting a lot of tone and you know, vibe off the instrument. So, and you can do this slow again, right? Okay, so that's kind of fun anyways. But yes, when you play it faster, you don't really notice just all those kind of idiosyncrasies with what's going on there. Okay, and one last SRV tip is to actually put in a little bit of a bend on each one of these notes. Right, so each one of those little tweaks just kind of like just makes it sound more Texas, you know, like just more bluesy, more SRV-esque, okay? So that's what I had planned for you guys. Do let me know in the comments below if this staircase system to Pride and Joy was helpful. I sure hope it was. And I know that there's a lot in here, but it's all about getting that bass line, getting that SRV rhythm with the upstrokes, and then ultimately just getting a 12-bar blues happening, okay? And the SRV version was definitely very complex. You know, he has this crazy lick at the end. Fill in those spaces with the appropriate chords, and you'll be able to do your own rendition of Pride and Joy. And then, of course, maybe your goal is to play it note for note, and there's tabs for that. Speaking of which, make sure to download the tabs. Those are all available for you on the house from me and Mike B at Campfire Guitar Star. So you'll find those in the description and the comments below. Do leave a thumbs up if you think this video deserved it. Leave me a comment below. Head over to campfireguitarstar.com. We have a lot of awesome products and services when it comes to guitar. We have courses, we do live one-on-one lessons, and we send a book out. We've shipped over 3,000 copies of the beginner guitar system all over the world. So lots for you to find at Campfire Guitar Star, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next lesson, and keep on ripping it up until then.